This is number 3 from page 252, lesson 7.1, but this problem is slightly different from the online textbook, but it's similar. It asks you to find the rational roots of the function, where first you need to find the possible rational roots, and to do that you take all the positive and negative factors of the constant, which is -6 in this case, and we're going to divide them by all the positive and negative factors of the leading coefficient, the coefficient of the degree term. So start with the constant, -6. And we'll find the factors, the positive and negative factors of 6. And that would be 1, 2, 3, and 6. And you put plus or minus to show that you'll include the positive and negative factors. Now take the leading coefficient 2 and write the positive and negative factors of 2. Just 1 and 2. Now take the quotients of every possible dividing all the factors of 6 by all the factors of 2 individually. So start with the first factor of 6. 1 divided by 1 is 1. 1 divided by 2, 1/2, no decimals. Go on to the 2 because we're done with the 1 now. 2 divided by 1 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2 divided by 2, 1 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, but we already wrote that, so we don't need to write it again. Now go on to the 3. 3 divided by 1, 3 divided by 2. 3 divided by 1 is 3. 3 divided by 2 is 3/2. Go on to the 6. 6 divided by 1, 6 divided by 2. 6 divided by 1 is 6. Always put plus or minus. And 6 divided by 2 is 3, but we already wrote the 3. Now out of these possibilities, I have to determine which factor, which root or 0 would be a factor of the function. And to figure out if it's a factor of the function, you use synthetic division for that number. If the remainder is 0, that means it is a root or a 0. So don't start too low, don't start too high. Because we have some minuses in the problem, let's use +2. I'm just guessing to see if this will work. There's no real way of figuring out which number actually works, just off the bat. So take the coefficients of the dividend, 2, -1, -13, -6. Horizontal line, and perform your synthetic division. Bring down 2, multiply, and add. In my previous video, I reviewed the steps of synthetic division. So because my remainder is not 0, 2 is not a factor of the function. Okay. Let's try 1/2. Don't be afraid of a fraction, it's just a fraction. Multiplying by 1/2 is the same as dividing by 2. Bring down 2, multiply. Half of 2 is 1. 0 times anything is 0. -13 times 1/2 is just -13/2. Clearly that will not equal 0. It will not equal 0. Sorry about that. I'm not even going to bother adding that because I know it's not going to equal 0. So let's try a 3. And there is a number that works, 3. So I take the numbers under the line and I use them to make my new polynomial. I guess I'll write it over here, 2x², because my original degree was 3, plus 5x plus 2. And put equals 0 because we're trying to find the zeros of the function. We're trying to determine what x values will make the equation equal 0. So think about your 4 methods of solving quadratic equations. I can't solve by taking the square root. I have not taught you how to solve by completing the square when a is not 1. You could solve by factoring, by the slip and slide method. You cannot do sum and product method of factoring, or you can do quadratic formula. I think slip and slide method might be faster. It just depends on your preference. Take the leading coefficient, multiply by the constant. So that'll be drop the 2, x squared plus 5x, and multiply. 2 times 2. Now include sum and product method of factoring. So the numbers that add to get 5 and multiply to get 4 are 4 and 1. Write them as factors. Don't forget your equals 0, but remember the 2 that we slipped in the beginning? We have to slide that under each factor number. I've already taught you guys this method, so this should be a refresher, not new material. Divide the fraction if possible. If the fraction does not reduce, slide the denominator in front of the variable, 2x plus 1, and drop the 2 from where it was. Okay. So it looks like this worked out. We didn't have to do quadratic formula unless we wanted to. Now, my 3 factors for my problem are: take the number that worked in synthetic division. If we use positive 3 in synthetic division, then the factor originally was x minus 3. Then include the 2 factors you just found, x plus 2, 2x plus 1. And that's what your j of x equals. So that is one part of your answer. Those are the factors. It also asks you to find the roots, the rational roots. Well, one of my rational roots is the one that worked in synthetic division, the 3. The other 2 will come from taking your 2 remaining factors and setting them both equal to 0 and solving for the variable. So x plus 2 equals 0, subtract 2 on both sides, negative 2. Subtract 1 on both sides, divide both sides by 2. Do not make that a decimal. We don't really use decimals in Algebra 2 unless we're graphing or something. X equals negative 1/2. Sorry, so sloppy. So the final roots are 3, negative 2, negative 1/2. So those are your answers to number 3 from the textbook. And as I said, number 3 from the online version is slightly different but similar. Bye.